Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. I picked up this here Kenwood online. I bought it specifically because it stated that it has an external media control right here. Now usually the ones that have the external media control that you can use as an auxiliary input, they're usually the flip face ones. But the problem with those is the mechanics go out. I've had a few of them. They lock up, they bind up. I have a couple I want to try to repair. But I bought this one because it doesn't have any of that gobbledygook. And it's pretty simple, just like old style. It does have a removable face, but I don't like taking those off. That's old technology. You don't need to do that anymore. So what I'm going to do today is first I'm going to see if the cassette mechanism works, see how it sounds, and then I'm going to attach Bluetooth to it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go ahead and record ourselves some music to play using the free YouTube audio library. This is a rocky, riffy track called Soaring from the YouTube library. This ought to sound great in an old tape deck. So why mess with the cassette decks? Well, I like cassettes. If you can tell by the name of my channel, I just like the mechanism of them. I like holding them in my hand, the way they rattle, the way you can reel them back in. Cassettes get a bad rep just because of all the crappy audio equipment we had back in the time. Nobody went out and bought the expensive stuff. They went out and bought the cheap stuff. And the cheap stuff usually ate your tapes. And then I would find them as I was walking to school, just flying in the bushes in the wind. And they would be strung out for like a mile. You could follow them. I would even ravel them up because I was a poor boy. And then I would reel them onto a tape just to find out what was on them, and they would play. One time I found a whole Tesla album. One time I found Prince and the Revolution's Purple Rain, and it was just flying in the bushes. So I reeled it all back up and put it on a tape, and it worked. That's the beauty of these things. They don't always sound the greatest, but they'll always play, so long as you have decent equipment that can handle it. Now where we hack into on these units is your CD shuttle connector right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the pin orientation, and they go down right to left, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I'm going to put a diagram up so that you can follow it if you plan on attempting to do one of these yourself. Now, not all of these will work. When you look for these old Kenwoods, you want to try to find the ones that have the mask, is what they called them, or the ones that the face flips around on them. This is an older model. And when I put the 10K resistor in on these two top pins, nothing happens because it is not set up for auxiliary input. Now, some of these, if you research them, you'll find some that say external media. This is not one of those. This, however, does have excellent sound. As you can see, that the Exelon logo printed on the face, and this one has very good sound. It has some some bass capabilities to it. It has a lot of features that I like, and I did use it. I did have my auxiliary in it, but in order to do so, I had to go inside this thing and I had to tap into the cassette mechanism. So there are lots of different adapters you can use to insert your audio. You can cut these and use these are the female adapters. If you're going to go 3.1 to RCA, then you would just plug this in, or vice versa. If you're going to plug into something, you can use an adapter like this or like this. Now this is an old one, so what you're going to find inside here is going to be a red wire, white wire, and then two naked wires inside each of these. Your red is left and your white as right. And then your naked wires are the ground. Now with most new ones that come with all of the Bluetooth doodads they sell, like the one that would come with this, they would be red, green, and white. Now always red and white for the most part are going to be your left and right. So red would be right, left would be white. And then your ground is going to be green. So what I'm going to use is the one that came with this. And I'm going to go ahead and adapt that to the back of the stereo. But first I've got to tin the wires. So this here is a package of 10K resistors that I bought off Amazon. They're really cheap. Of course, the amount that comes in this bag is overkill. I don't have this many stereos. Maybe I will if this channel does anything. But all you do is you're going to pop one of these out of the bag. And then we're going to trim it. We're going to leave about 3/8 of an inch on each end. And then I just bend them just like so. And then they'll slide into the back of your CD shuttle connector. So let's get to it. So we are going to take our prepped 10K resistor and we are going to slide that into the top two holes on this Kenwood head unit. Nice little wiggle, get them to go down in there. Once those are secured in there, I'm going to hit them with a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place, keep it from rattling loose and coming out. Then we're going to let that dry. So that's going to tell the head unit, hey, something's connected. It's going to look for a CD. If it doesn't find a CD, then it's going to switch over to auxiliary. And then there you go. Now we're going to want to make sure these are pretty straight. Give them a light twist. You don't want them tight because then you won't get any solder in between the miniature wires there and it won't hold up. Just a light spin. Make sure you don't have any wires sticking out because then they won't slide into the pins. Now this solder I have is pretty thick. It's kind of overkill for this job, but it usually does what I want it to do. And it usually sticks to the wires just fine. So what you want to do is make a rigid wire, which is why we're tinning these. You don't want the knots on them. You gotta get these knots out of the way. Now I've got a rigid wire to slide into the pin. And just be patient. Sometimes you might have to put a little flux on them. But this is flux solder here, so it'll usually get in there and make me a nice... Now I've got some rigid wires. This one's got a knot I need to remove. Just get that hot, kind of slide it around. So they all feel pretty rigid. So now we're going to consult to our wiring diagram. So now that I've got pins 1 and 9 jumped with my 10K resistor, I am going to grab my prepared tinned wires and we're going to insert the ground into pin 6, which is the middle one right under your 10K resistor. Just going to hold that there. Going to apply some glue so that it doesn't move. We're going to let that dry. Now that that is dry, we're going to take our red wire and we're going to insert it into pin 8, which is right channel input. Let's get it up and out of the way, because pin 12, which is the last one on the bottom, that is going to be your left channel. But I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down so that it doesn't move. We're going to let that dry. Now what's left is our white wire. That is going to go into the hole for pin number 12. Give it a little push. Sometimes you might need a needle nose plier. My hands are pretty big, so I get a little struggle with this stuff. Let's just make sure it gets down in there. Once that is down in there, now we hit that with some more glue. Make sure it doesn't move. We're going to secure the wire. Let it go up this way. And then we'll just let that dry. This here is an old power supply from an old computer that I've rigged to test my mini stereos that I tinker with. So what I did here is just any old power supply from an old computer. I took the green wire and I took any black wire, and what you want to do is ground these two together, and I've done so with the switch. I love to use my hot glue, so I've glued that to the side, and then once those are connected, power supply comes on. Now your 12 volts are in any yellow and black wire. Yellow would be positive and black will be negative. So what I've done is, you can see I pretty much cut flat all the other wires in the harness, and I've just taken the yellows and the blacks, and I have wire nuts on the ones that I'm not using. I keep them available in case I want to connect an amplifier or an EQ and test them all. But now these will ground out if they touch, and it will shut the thing off. And see, if I touch them, it'll protect itself. You see my fan just shut off. Now it won't come back on unless you unplug it. You count to 10, then you plug it back in. And we're good. So now let's hook this unit up and let's see if it plays tapes. Now pretty much all the Kenwoods from this area use the same plug. I haven't found any to be different, but your yellow and your red is going to be your power and your memory. Blue is going to be your output to turn on amps, EQs, whatnot. And then black, of course, is always going to be your ground. And everything else is going to be speaker wiring. So I'm going to hook this up. Let's see if we can get a tape to play. Okay, I've got this plugged in. Now before you turn anything on, you want to make sure your speaker wires aren't touching. You don't want to ground anything out. So I've just got the fronts peeled. All the rest are capped, cut straight. Now, none of those are touching. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect my positive. Then I'll connect my negative. When in doubt, follow the wiring diagram on your particular unit. Some may be different. I can't ever guarantee these are all going to be the same, but from what I've seen on the Kenwoods, they're pretty much all the same. Now this here's just a standard Bluetooth doodad that you can get off Amazon. They're a dime a dozen. They do the job all right. Just depends on what features you want. You can answer your phone on this. It's not the best sounding, and sometimes you get a little feedback on them. Depending on how your battery system and how old your car is, you may get a little motor noise on a classic car. But the best ones I found are the ones that can go into a rocker switch panel, and I usually mount those right beside my stereo, and they sound really great. Difference is I can't answer my phone through it. I really don't do that anyway when I'm driving. But if you're going to be answering your phone, just depends on what you're going to find and what your liking is. Now, most of the Kenwoods from this time did not accept auxiliary. I bought this one specifically because it said it did. Now, if you're looking for old Kenwood cassette decks, the safe bet is any of them that have the flip face on it. But the problem with those is sometimes the mechanism fails. There's ones that flip manually and there's ones that flip electrically. I've had one of them fail, one of my electric ones, that you turn the power on and it automatically switches on the face, and then you turn it off and it automatically closes it. I have another one that I'm using in my car that works just fine. But the reason I bought this one is because it's pretty much old school. There's no mechanical gadgets to open it, and I would think it's more fail-proof than the flip face ones. Let's go ahead and try this guy out. So I've got my adapter connected. I got my power connected. Now let's flip it on and see what it does. Okay, now you should be able to hit source on these. Tuner, tape, and disc. Now that I've got that in, it says auxiliary. That means we are good to go. Now to get some speakers hooked up. So now the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's go ahead and power this up. See if our cassette mechanism works. I got some music downloaded from the YouTube library. I'd say she sounds pretty darn good. Okay, now let's try the auxiliary. Since I got my phone recording, I can't really use Bluetooth to show you, but what I can use is the next best thing. Now we're going to go to my source, tuner. I think you got too much power going into it. Turn the volume down. Yeah, she's pretty old. So the auxiliary input is working just fine. Don't mind the old beat up cassette tape player that I have. You can see I've dropped it a few times. Got my band-aid on the battery compartment. Old school stuff. If you know, you know. But anyway, auxiliary works. A little bit of short in the he's worn out. I've got my old Walkman, I've got my thrift store speakers working, and I've got my thrift store power supply powering everything. Hi, I'm Bert. I'm a hoarder. So thank you all for joining me today with Cars and Cassettes. Like and subscribe so you can keep seeing these videos. Everyone have a great day.